for the first time in our nation's history, over 4.5% continuous growth the last 5 years. That signals that our focus in diversifying the economy is growing, but we still need you in the mining sector and in the petroleum sector to become the major impetus of sustained growth, if not new wave of growth going forward for our country. And so I want to indicate to all of you, as we focus on growing our economy to a 200 billion economy plus, key government policies are coming in place. For all of you who are investors here, I want you to look into our focus on replacing imports by going to downstream production. And that includes all sectors, not just the petroleum sector or the mining sector. When I talk about replacing imports, most would think that we're just concentrating in the mining or petroleum sector. Far from it. It is an all-encapsulating statement. It includes, for instance, replacing importation of rice, replacing importation of beef and chicken and proteins that we are importing right now, replacing importation of forestry product when we can produce ourselves in country. Those conversations are running. For those of you in the service businesses listening in, and I was pleasantly impressed with Mayu, for instance, discussing on lime and cement business in Papua New Guinea. Those sort of conversations must also pick up big in these forums, and I encourage the investors out there who want to partner Papua New Guinea in import replacement. This is something that will go big in the next 10 years. We want to also ramp up export, and not just export from raw produces we are producing today. In the next 20 years, I pronounced at the United Nations when I spoke this year, the next 20 years PNG will migrate from not just a raw resource primary exporter of primary produce. We want to migrate to a secondary produce exporter in our region. And so that conversation will ramp up. For those of you in business here, look into picking a business that could assist our intention to be exporting raw produce in the mining space. Our own Kumul minerals will be a strong push. We will be using resources from Okteri, especially copper resource from Okteri, to focus on how we could model copper smelting and a copper refinery process. The conversation on gold refinery is still going on. This is not just targeting mining sector and petroleum sector. It's a conversation that is deeply embedded in government policy, especially the policy of my generation of Papua New Guineans. We don't want to remain a raw exporter. I give you one example. We export timber to the export destinations. They sell back to us table. We'd rather sell table than selling raw timber to these destinations. Is that okay? Papua New Guineans, are you happy with this conversation, or are you not happy with this conversation? And so by 2045, as our nation celebrates 70 years, or so 20 years from today, we want to be a country that is industrialized and exporting finished product, firstly from the resources we produce in our own country, and secondly, other resources that we could secure elsewhere. And to make sure this is so, our government is working on few reforms. I want to give you all statistics or indication of some of the reforms we're working. First thing first, and more importantly, strengthening the rule of law in our country. We're working, and lately my coalition government has elevated the conversation on strengthening the rule of law in our country as our number one priority. And I want to indicate to all of you some major reforms that is going on. First and foremost, we are strengthening our judiciary. Our judiciary will remain a robust, independent judiciary. We want the judiciary to be amongst the best amongst our peer countries. And so we're introducing an appeals court, separating Supreme Court to be only reading Section 18, Section 19, and few selected matters at the higher up. But we're introducing an appeals court that will sit on top of our national court. It is in our intention to make our courts more independent, more separate and functioning. We're working with Australia and our Commonwealth, other Commonwealth nations to bring in over 20 expert judges to sit in our courts so that our court is functioning better, efficiently, and dispensing judgments at the earliest. Amongst that work will be bringing in modern arbitration into Papua New Guinea. So any one of you who have disputes, there's arbitration as an alternate path to dispute resolution, as well as a fairer, safer court system that handles all disputes in Papua New Guinea. We've shown that in the last 49 years, we have become a litigious society. And so, as part of democracy, you don't stop people running to court. We want all disputes to be finding solutions in our independent and strengthened modern court system. So I want to introduce to the audience here, as investors in Papua New Guinea, be rest assured our court system is being relooked and revamped, working with our Chief Justice, who is a strong sponsor of the revamp of our higher courts, where we will bring in the appeals court, and we will have the Supreme Court elevated and a separate national court. Parliament has passed these laws. We're working to operationalize these laws as we celebrate our 50th anniversary. That is something that is worked upon. I want to appreciate the Australian government for our partnership in the bilateral security agreement. That will mean Australia will invest over $300 to $400 million working in partnership with Papua New Guinea Royal Constabulary. We are strengthening our domestic police. Parliament passed in our last parliament the Anti-Terrorism Act. It is now an act, and it means police is empowered to go out there, put the fire out in hotspots. A stronger law that protects and empowers the police, working with the bilateral security agreement and our own investment in police. We hope in the next 2 years, we make our police a functioning police that is effectively securing the safety of our people and our investments